The epic opens with the description of Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, a city-state in ancient Sumer. Gilgamesh is 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, endowed with unmatched strength and beauty. However, his semi-divine nature also makes him arrogant, and he becomes a harsh ruler, tyrannizing his people. He forces the men of Uruk to labor ceaselessly, and he takes the sons and daughters of the city at will, leaving the citizens in misery. The people of Uruk pray to the gods to deliver them from Gilgamesh's tyranny, and the gods, hearing their pleas, decide to create a rival for the king, someone who could match his power and temper his arrogance. The gods fashion a wild man named Enkidu, who lives in the wilderness, running with the animals and untouched by civilization. Enkidu is covered in hair, and his strength rivals that of Gilgamesh. He lives harmoniously with the beasts of the field, protecting them from hunters and blocking their traps. However, his wild existence is interrupted when a trapper, frustrated by Enkidu's interference, seeks help from Gilgamesh. The king advises the trapper to bring a woman named Shamhat, a temple prostitute, to seduce Enkidu and lead him away from his wild nature. Shamhat meets Enkidu at a watering hole and seduces him over the course of 6 days and 7 nights. After their union, Enkidu finds that his connection to the animals has been severed. They now flee from him, recognizing him as a man. He feels changed, wiser, and more aware of the world around him. Shamhat introduces him to the ways of civilization, teaching him to eat bread, drink wine, and clothe himself. She speaks to him of the greatness of Gilgamesh and suggests that he go to Uruk to challenge the mighty king. When Enkidu arrives in Uruk, he learns of Gilgamesh's impending abuse of his divine right, planning to exercise his right of the first night with a bride on her wedding day. Enraged, Enkidu blocks Gilgamesh's path, and the two engage in a fierce battle. The walls of Uruk shake as the two demigods clash, their strength evenly matched. Eventually, Gilgamesh gains the upper hand, but instead of deepening their enmity, the two warriors develop a deep bond of friendship and mutual respect. Enkidu becomes Gilgamesh's closest companion, and together they set off on heroic adventures. Their first quest takes them to the Cedar Forest, a sacred realm guarded by Humbaba, a monstrous giant placed there by the god Enlil to protect the sacred trees. Gilgamesh, eager to prove his strength and earn eternal fame, is determined to defeat Humbaba, despite warnings from the gods and even Enkidu's initial hesitation. The two heroes make their way to the forest, armed with weapons and aided by the blessings of the sun god Shamash. Upon confronting Humbaba, the Guardian unleashes his terrifying aura, which shakes the earth and causes the sky to darken. For a moment, Gilgamesh and Enkidu are paralyzed with fear, but Shamash intervenes, sending powerful winds to trap Humbaba. Seizing the opportunity, Gilgamesh and Enkidu attack the giant, finally slaying him after a brutal struggle. Humbaba, before his death, curses Enkidu for participating in the killing, and this curse foreshadows the tragic events to come. After the defeat of Humbaba, the gods are displeased with Gilgamesh and Enkidu for violating the sanctity of the Cedar Forest and slaying its divine guardian. Nevertheless, the two heroes return to Uruk, where they are greeted as triumphant warriors. Gilgamesh's fame spreads, and soon the goddess Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, takes notice of him. Ishtar is captivated by Gilgamesh's beauty and strength, and she proposes marriage to him, offering him wealth and power beyond imagination. However, Gilgamesh rejects Ishtar's advances, insulting her by recounting the fates of her past lovers, who all met tragic ends after falling under her influence. Enraged by his rejection, Ishtar ascends to heaven and pleads with her father, Anu, to release the Bull of Heaven to punish Gilgamesh. Anu reluctantly agrees, and the Bull of Heaven descends upon Uruk, causing widespread destruction, killing people and drying up the earth. Gilgamesh and Enkidu once again face a divine foe. Together, they manage to kill the Bull of Heaven, saving Uruk from its rampage. As a final insult, Enkidu tears off the bull's thigh and hurls it at Ishtar, further provoking her wrath. While the people of Uruk celebrate their victory, the gods are angered by the hero's continued defiance of divine authority. In their divine council, the gods decree that one of the two must pay for these transgressions. They decide that Enkidu, the once wild man who had been tamed by civilization, must die. Enkidu soon falls gravely ill. As he lies on his deathbed, he laments his fate, cursing the trapper and Shamhat for leading him away from his carefree life among the animals. However, after reflecting on his friendship with Gilgamesh, he retracts his curses and blesses Shamhat for bringing him into the world of men and allowing him to meet his brother in arms. Enkidu's death is slow and painful, and Gilgamesh is heartbroken as he watches his closest friend die. Enkidu's death profoundly affects Gilgamesh, forcing him to confront his own mortality for the first time. Overcome with grief and terror at the prospect of his own death, Gilgamesh embarks on a quest to find Utnapishtim, a mortal who was granted immortality by the gods after surviving the Great Flood. Gilgamesh believes that Utnapishtim holds the secret to eternal life, and he is determined to obtain it for himself. Gilgamesh sets out on a perilous journey, traveling through desolate landscapes and across vast waters. Along the way, he encounters various divine and monstrous beings, each of whom tests his resolve. He first arrives at the mountain pass, guarded by scorpion men, who warn him of the dangers ahead, but ultimately allow him to pass. Gilgamesh then travels through the dark tunnel of the Mashu Mountains, emerging into the beautiful Garden of the Gods, where he meets Siduri, the tavern keeper. Siduri, a wise woman, advises Gilgamesh to abandon his quest for immortality and instead embrace the joys of life: food, drink, family, and love. But Gilgamesh refuses to give up, driven by his fear of death and his desire to escape it. Siduri directs him to Urshanabi, the ferryman of Utnapishtim, who helps him cross the dangerous waters to reach the land of the immortal man. Finally, Gilgamesh meets Utnapishtim, who recounts the story of how he was granted immortality. Utnapishtim tells Gilgamesh about the Great Flood, a catastrophe sent by the gods to wipe out humanity. The god Ea warned Utnapishtim in a dream, instructing him to build a massive boat to save himself, his family, and the animals. After the floodwaters receded, the gods, realizing their error in nearly destroying humanity, granted Utnapishtim and his wife eternal life as a reward for his obedience and piety. Despite hearing this incredible tale, Utnapishtim tells Gilgamesh that immortality is not something that can be granted to just anyone. However, he offers Gilgamesh a chance to prove himself by staying awake for 6 days and 7 nights. Gilgamesh, exhausted from his long journey, immediately falls asleep. When he awakens, Utnapishtim shows him the loaves of bread that had been placed beside him each day, proving that he had failed the test. As a consolation, Utnapishtim's wife, persuades her husband to reveal the location of a plant that can restore youth. Gilgamesh retrieves the plant from the depths of the ocean, but on his journey back to Uruk, he stops to bathe in a spring. While he is bathing, a serpent steals the plant, shedding its skin and gaining renewed youth. Gilgamesh, realizing that he has lost his chance at immortality, is devastated. Defeated, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk, but as he gazes upon the magnificent walls of his city, he gains a newfound appreciation for the legacy he has built. While he may not have achieved immortality in the literal sense, his deeds, his city, and his story will live on for generations to come. The epic concludes with Gilgamesh accepting his mortality, having learned that true immortality lies in the lasting impact one leaves on the world,